Welcome to the Church of the Ever-Loving Jazz, where your soul will be touched. Thank you so much. Really appreciate it. Higher ground. Well, that's what we're looking for, isn't it? I'm Reverend Greg Dorst, and I have the higher ground today. I'm up here, and I get to see all of you, and that's a wonderful thing. I can tell you that. You guys are so beautiful on a beautiful Sunday morning with the sky blue, gorgeous. So I got up before the sun got up this morning. Isn't that funny the way we say that? We know science, right? I mean, the earth turns, but we still talk about the sun coming up, and it's crazy, but I was up that early. And I got ready this morning and went to the AA meeting across the way, and it's an 11-step meeting, and that means that we work on meditation and prayer, and we talk about things that are spiritual and things that we really care about. And when it was over, one of the people saw me walk into the office, which is directly across from the chapel, and she stopped me and she said, "Do you live here?" And I had to think about that for a second, like, why would she think that? But then I looked around me, and my bicycle's in my office. I got 2 guitars in my office. I got clothes hanging up in my office. I got all kinds of things hanging on the wall. I mean, I made it real comfortable, so I thought, man, oh man, it may look like I live here. So I had to own that, you know. I didn't get mad about that. I had to own it. And when she described what this home that she thought I lived in was, she called it a rectory. And I thought, wow, that's an old word, you know, and I'm not so sure I really like that word, you know, because it brings about visions of body parts. I don't understand why it is that a place where a minister would live is called a rectory. I just don't get that. I heard that. I heard that. Nice thing about being up here is you can hear that too. The sound travels. Sound always travels. That's okay. So what I did was I made my own little sign, and I wrote on a piece of paper. You'll see it if you walk through the conference room there today or into the library, and it says "Home Sweet Home." And I put it up on the door, and so it's on a nice piece of yellow paper, and so it is my home. You know, I had to think about that. My home, that's right. Then check this out. The next sign that goes up, next sign that goes up is "Beware a dog." You understand that sign is actually, they say that the way to protect your home is not necessarily to have an alarm system, but if you have a sign that says "Beware of dog," whether you have one or not, you don't even have to have a dog. Just the sign, that'll keep people away, because you never know. Rover could be sleeping in the back. You wouldn't be able to see him, you know, until it was too late. So you stay out of houses that have signs that say "Beware a dog," but you go in them when they say "Home Sweet Home," right? I mean, because that's really an inviting thing. And so I put "Home Sweet Home" up there because I want it to be inviting. And I also want that feel around it too. You know, when we start thinking about home, oftentimes it's that space that we go to when we're tired and we want to relax, or when we're hungry, or that place where we feel like we can shut the rest of the world out and just be us. That place where we have our food, where we have our clothing, where we have the things that we think are important. You know, those things that we have to stockpile because we think we might need them someday, you know how that works. And some of us actually become kind of hoarders to a certain degree. You know, I can only play so many guitars, and I can't even do that very well. But you should see how many of them I have. I mean, Jackie would say he's a guitar hoarder for sure. Guitar hoarder. But the nice thing about them is I'm always willing to invite people over to play them, and that's kind of a neat thing, and that's really kind of the reason why I have them, not just for me. But that home that we go to, that space where we can be comfortable, where we can care for our children and our grandchildren, where we have a safe place for everybody to be, is kind of the feel that we want around that. You know, and when Ernest Holmes was talking about manifesting or demonstrating a home in the Science of Mind textbook, he was talking about, initially talking about that space where, you feel like you can have your own domain under a roof where there is something that draws you to it. And so he says in the Science of Mind textbook, when talking about setting forth a mental equivalent so that you can get the home that you desire, he says on page 287, how to demonstrate a home. All our beautiful dreams, all our wishing and praying for material good will reach no higher level in our experience than our belief in the power of God and in his willingness to help us. God's willingness to help us is expressed in the existence of that immutable law which gives us exactly the type of objective experience for which we build a mental likeness. What he's talking about is building in your mind that which you wish to experience in life. That's where cause is. Cause begins in your thought processes, in the ideas, and those ideas bring forward the effects in life. Everything starts in the invisible form. That's what he's talking about. He says if we have the mental equivalent of a commodious home, roomy, light, cheery, and an income in keeping with it, if we are able to build in mind the kind of home we wish, and there is nothing in our subjective thought which denies this, then we shall be able to decide and demonstrate for ourselves the kind of home we desire. So Ernest Holmes is talking about how we can demonstrate anything in our lives, including a home. Now, I'm not talking about this because I have so many people living in my house. No. We actually have 9 in there now, and there's plenty of room, and it feels really homey. I like it. But I want people to know that you can demonstrate a home. I mean, you can build that mental equivalent where you can be comfortable and have the roominess that you so desire. But I think that what Ernest Holmes was really talking about at a much deeper level is what this thing called home becomes to us once we recognize that the universe is really spiritual in nature. I mean, this thing that we call home is so ethereal. I mean, hey, have you ever been in a space that's absolutely beautiful, has plenty of rooms, and somebody calls it a home, but it doesn't have a feel to it? It just doesn't have a feel. I mean, I remember going to my grandmother's house and there was plastic on the couch. Everybody's been to one of those houses, where there's plastic on the couch. And it's, don't go in that room. That is a home, but it's not a home. It's not that space where you feel comfortable, and the home is that space where you feel comfortable. And then you start thinking to yourself, well, if that's the case, then is it really a place? Is home really a place? And then you go a little further with it and you go, wow, home might be a person. I feel at home with this person. I've never felt so at home with him or her or them. And then you go a little bit further and you think, well, maybe it's more than that. Maybe it's more than a thing. Maybe it's more than a person. Maybe it's a feeling, and you can take that anywhere. So, Jesus, when he was about 12 or 13 years old, was on a pilgrimage to Jerusalem. And if you were a really good Jew, you were supposed to go to Jerusalem every single year. You go on a pilgrimage to Jerusalem. And so Jesus, at age 12 or 13, went with Mary and Joseph, and this is written in Luke. I think it's Luke 2:29. And Jesus went with Mary and Joseph on a pilgrimage to Jerusalem. Now, what happens next is really interesting because apparently when they left Jerusalem and started going back to where they resided, they actually left Jesus behind and didn't even notice it for a while. I mean, it reminded me of that Home Alone movie, where they all flew off to Europe and there he is all alone. They didn't even realize they'd left him. So they left Jesus. They didn't even realize they had him. They had to turn around and go back and get him. So they went back and they're searching for him, and they're searching high and low, and finally they're told that he's in the temple. He's over in the temple. And so they walk in and they're all indignant. Jesus, get over here. Why weren't you with us? What are you doing? And he says, did you not know? He's indignant. Did you not know that I had to be in my Father's house? Did you not know that? And that's really interesting, because there he is in the temple, in his Father's house. Sometimes it's translated, going about my Father's business, which is another interesting thing, because my Father's business is really ethereal, right? I mean, my Father's business really isn't that temple. It's not that house that he was in at that time. So here he is at 12 or 13, and he must be in his Father's house. Well, I'll tell you what, he didn't stay in that house too long. He was out and about and ministering to the world and healing people. He would walk from town to town, he and his disciples, and the Bible is not replete with day after day after day Jesus being in the temple or being in that quote unquote house of God. He was actually out in the ethereal world of God. I mean, his sense of what that was all about grew. It obviously grew. Otherwise, he'd have been in the temple with the other rabbis. But he wasn't. He was out and about. And he developed, obviously, into somebody who felt that when he was out and about ministering, he was doing the business of God, in and around everything that God was about, his Father's house. And so when we think of house, I think that we grow in our understanding of it. And Ernest Holmes does that too, as he moves forward with the things he has to say about a home that we desire. He quotes Wordsworth, William Wordsworth, a writer and poet. And William Wordsworth wrote a poem that he included in his book. Actually, it's a long essay that Ernest Holmes wrote called Immortality. And he includes this, and it says, "Our birth is but sleep and a forgetting. The soul that rises with us, our life's star, hath had elsewhere its setting, and cometh from afar. Not in entire forgetfulness, and not in utter nakedness, but trailing clouds of glory do we come from God, who is our home." And so in that last sentence, when it says, trailing clouds of glory do we come from God, who is our home, we get a larger sense of what Ernest Holmes is talking about, particularly in a short work that he calls Immortality. So Ernest had this idea that we practice all of the time, that what we see around us, all of those material things, are really just things that change, that flow in and out of existence over time. Something will disappear, something else will take its place. People are like that too. We're like that too. But we're all just part of this larger aspect, which is our home, our God, which is spirit in its totality. It is source. It's the all there is. It's the infinite one. It's first cause, that which created all things, God. And we know God's in, around, and through us because we feel it. We feel it. And so when we're asked to go within, to ask those questions about whether or not we really, really recognize God in our lives, we can do that so easily. We can do it by looking at the effects. That is, the beautiful flowers, the trees. We can see it in the clouds. We can see it in everything that is in our lives. And we can do it also by going within and recognizing and knowing those magnificent feelings that are all about that rich, wonderful, spiritual experience that we're able to feel, understand, know, translate for ourselves individually. And we can bring those things about too anytime we so desire. We come here to talk about those things. We come here to talk about the things that are out of view, that bring things into view. And so sometimes I get that kind of screwed up. Sometimes I look around my life and I go, oh, wow. And this is a euphemism for what things need to be changed in my life. But I'll look around and say, oh, wow, yeah, I need to move some furniture. I need to move that from here to here, and I need to move that from here to here. And, the truth is that those are just material things that are showing up. And the fact that I believe they're in the wrong place is really all about my own thought processes, all about my own consciousness. I could move furniture forever. I could move these things forever and still not move the right pieces or find the right places. I could do that forever. What we come here to do, what we come here to practice, is to learn how to set forth a mental equivalent, something in mind that works for us, that doesn't demand that we always have to move furniture, that we move things around in our lives, change things, the material aspects of our lives, do what we call geographics, because this place isn't right for me, I got to go over there. This car's not right for me, oh, I got to get a different one. Yeah, I have to change my clothes into something a little more hip. That'll make me feel better. And so, sometimes I forget that it's not really about that. It's about setting myself right spiritually. It's about going within and recognizing that there is the creative aspect. That is what brings about the room with the properly set furniture. That space with that feeling of love. That home, if you will. That's what does it. Going within and getting right within. Sometimes I forget how to do that too. Sometimes I forget how to just take a moment and not let the outside world completely ruin my experience. And that can happen. That can happen. Sometimes it happens when somebody says something to me that I don't like. Somebody will say something to me, oh my gosh, boy, do I recoil from that. I absolutely recoil from it. Or something that I completely and totally disagree with. I recoil from it as if that is the thing that I should recoil from, rather than go within to see what that's all about, See, I need to go within and see what that is all about. That thing that touched me at that deep level, that thing that bothered me, that thing that stuck me like a hat pin. I need to get down and feel, understand, recognize, and know what that's really about. Because, the truth is, those things that affect me greatly, those things that really, really bother me, that's the gold. That's the gold. Because those things are definitely for me. They were made just for me so that I could move on, learn, grow, become something other than I've always been, so that I can be challenged and move forward, progress, so that I can be more today than I was yesterday. Greater yet to be is what I like to say, greater yet to be. And so I got to look at those things as the gems, those little things that tweak me. I got to look at as the gems. Now, I don't know about you, but have you ever had this experience where you've recoiled against something so much that you have said to yourself, I will never do that. I will never do that. And then it's, I don't know how long, 1, 2, 3, 4 months, maybe a year, maybe 2, maybe 3, maybe 4, and you're doing it? That's something you're actually doing? I have to notice those things. I notice those things now. I recognize that if I say I would never do that, there's a big chance I'm going to be doing it. Really. I remember going to the gym, and I am one of these guys that really likes to get my head on straight while I'm working with my muscles, because I believe that there's a mind-body connection, and if I can't concentrate on the exact muscle group that I'm using in the gym, then I'm not going to get the experience that I want, so I'm really into that. And if you're really into that, then you don't like the idea of headphones. You just don't like the idea of the droning music or something else that's in headphones. And so I looked at people and I go, I'd never do that. I would never wear those headphones. I would never, ever put those headphones on while I'm in the gym, because this is the experience I want. I want the experience of having that mind-body connection. And then they would never pay attention to what was going on because they had these headphones on, and then it became the people, these people. They'll step in front of you, they'll bump into you, they don't even know you're there because they got these headphones on. So one day, I was given a gift by one of my kids. It happened to be headphones that would plug into my iPhone. And along with that gift came the ability and knowledge to connect to an internet radio station on my phone, because they taught me how to do that. Oh, this is how you do it. You connect to an internet radio station, and they'll play all of your favorites. I thought, wow, how cool. My phone, I have that with me anyway. Got some brand new headphones. I started listening to them at home, not ever thinking that I'd be wearing them in the gym pretty soon. And it was not long after that I kind of couldn't be without them, because I found more than just those internet radio stations. I found talks on the internet from people that I had just absolutely revered over time. I found, new and cutting edge philosophical talks, TED Talks, all kinds of things that you can't even imagine are available right there at my fingertips. And I thought, man, I can listen to those anytime. How about at the gym? So I got my headphones on and I'm wandering around the gym, and I am exactly that person that I said I would never be. Exactly. I mean, that's just one instance. I could give you 10 different instances of how I have said I will never, ever do that, and I end up doing it. So today, this is what I do. This is what I have to do. Oops, I get so excited. These revelations are great. This is what I have to do. I have to recognize that when I go there, when I say I'll never do that, oh my gosh, I have to take my calendar and write down the day I'm going to do it. I have to recognize that when I do that, it's really kind of setting myself up. I'm bringing myself to it, bringing myself to it. Those things that tweak me, that really bother me, there's gold in those things. There really is. I love the 4 Agreements. Anybody here ever read the 4 Agreements? Yeah, I love the 4 Agreements. I think it's wonderful. I particularly enjoy the beginning of that book where he says, the author, Don Miguel Ruiz, says, I call myself the smoky mirror, because everything that I see is really a reflection of my own thoughts and consciousness. And the smoke, that makes me think that it isn't. That is so cool. Everything that I see really is a reflection of me. It's a reflection of my consciousness. But I delude myself. I delude it with the smoke. And so when somebody says something to me that tweaks me, I have to take a good look at it and say, what is this about me? Because otherwise, you know what I'd be doing? I'd just be moving furniture. That's all, just moving furniture. I'd look at it as if this has to solve it. Oh, I'll change the way my hair looks. I'll change what I'm wearing. I'll make a little change here and a little tweak there. And that's not the point. The point is that I am affected and I need to work on me. The home I desire is about how I feel. That's the home I desire. Just like Jesus, I've gone beyond that. This is my home. This is my Father's home. This is somebody else's home. This is my home. My home is right in that space where I know that I am loved, cared for, and all is perfect, whole, and complete. When I live in grace, that is that space. That is my home. And that's the home I desire. In order to get there, I have to get over all that stuff. I have to stop allowing the world to bother me so much. Now, some people think, well, the best way to do that is just turn off the TV, now that's an interesting thing too, because really that's moving furniture around. That's what I'm talking about. I'm talking about moving furniture around because something else is going to press that button, because that button's still there. So what do I do? What do I have to do? What I have to do is take a good look inside. I have to follow these teachings because, believe it or not, I dig this stuff. I know it's the truth. So what I am in consciousness will outpicture in my life. It will affect my home. It will affect the way I feel. It will affect how I treat you. I have to know that. So what I do is what we teach around here. I work on that inner me. I work on that space that brings about all of these things in our lives. I mean, really, what could be more important than that? That's what we teach. We don't come in here and teach, oh yes, the proper place for your furniture in your living room is the chair has to be against that wall right across from the TV. We don't do that. We don't talk about genuflecting. We don't talk about all of those things that a lot of other people talk about that have to do with ceremony. We like ceremony. We really, really do, because that's our historical foundation. We recognize it as such. But we also know that that's furniture. That's furniture that you move around when you're uncomfortable, rather than taking a good look at what's inside. I get pretty passionate about that, don't I? Pretty passionate. You know, and the thing is, too, I also have to look at myself and see whether or not I'm just, a people pleaser, too. I don't know if you have ever had to do that. I have to observe that. I look at it and say, well, why am I doing that, you know? And I heard this little ditty about a minister who was looking to get a job in a particular congregation, and you guys might know how that goes. And the way this starts, and she's laughing now, and the way this starts is that this guy who's going to be speaking to the congregation is kind of sitting away from a group of people that are talking about what it is that they want in a minister. And one of them says, gosh, you know, what I really want in a minister is somebody with the spirituality of a Native American. I just love that culture. It's just fantastic. And what the next person says is, oh, you know what I want is I want somebody with the business sense of a Jewish banker. Somebody who can come in here and just take charge and do it all, do it right. And the third person says, well, you know what I would really like to see is that buttery Southerner, you know, that can just give it to you, just nice and smooth, you know, that beautiful sounding voice that just makes you feel at home. So when it was time for the potential minister, to introduce himself, he says, good morning, everyone. I'm Geronimo Bernstein, but my good friends call me Bubba. Geronimo Bernstein is a people pleaser. I want to be what you want me to be. You know, isn't that? Hey, now that could be a problem in life. You know, and that's moving furniture around. Moving furniture. That's what it is. I should have called today's talk Moving Furniture, huh? We were sort of moving furniture yesterday. A bunch of us were here receiving the gifts of the universe for our goodwill drive. You know, we were taking things out of cars and looking through them. And there were even some pictures we just absolutely love. But we were kind of moving furniture yesterday. But what we do in here today on Sunday is talk about how that furniture, that's not the real deal. Our real home is here. Creativity that we have right in this God space, in that open heart space, is immense. It is amazing. The power of our thoughts is beyond what I ever suspected or expected. Harnessing that amazing energy is the gift that I received from God. Through God, as God, we make this life happen together. And so it is. Namaste.